All right, it is 2 o'clock, so I guess I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Eric Frierson, and I'm a Senior Discovery Services Engineer with EBSCO. It's probably the best job you could ever imagine in the library world. Before joining the company, I was head of library systems at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas. Basically, I get to do the same thing as I did there, except I get to work for EBSCO, and I don't have to pull night and weekend reference shifts and, unjam the copier and that kind of thing. I'm not trying to rub it in for all of you frontline librarians out there, just giving you a little bit of background about who I am. I will be able to see all of the chats that you put into the question and answer. So we are, so feel free to ask questions throughout this session as we get going. I may not answer them until I hit critical points in this WebEx, so please don't think I'm ignoring you. I will get to all of the questions as we move forward. So welcome to Curriculum Builder, a thoughtful approach to creating and managing course reading lists. Here I want to briefly put this tool into context and what it is and what it does. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is kind of a revelation that we had at St. Ed's when thinking about how our library was positioned on campus. Discovery services, as you probably already know, help bring together all of the data that we have in the databases throughout our library's website. So for example, your library may subscribe to 50 or 100 different databases out there, and what your discovery service does is it helps bring all of those together so students and faculty aren't having to dip into 50 to 100 different silos to find the information that they need. However, the library itself, even with a discovery service, can seem to be a silo on campus. So if we kind of back up from that library-centric point of view and start looking at, how the library is positioned on campus, it's something separate from where the majority of teaching and learning happens. So I mentioned St. Ed. This is a map of St. Edward's University. The library is right here. You may not be able to see the text on the building, but that's where the library is. We didn't really have any, there are now some classrooms in that renovated building, so that's cool, but for the most part, the classrooms on campus were located elsewhere. So if we think about the physical setup of a campus, the library is often a building in and of itself. It's a place where you go, but it's not where you go to hold classes. The digital environment has an equivalent. So for example, this is LSU's library website. It's got its own web address, library.lsu.edu. But again, it's something separate from where teaching and learning happens. If you've got a moment in the Q&A, what is the classroom equivalent in the digital environment? So if we're thinking about where our students and faculty are interacting with one another, where the teaching and learning actually happens in a digital environment, what websites are those? And feel free to punch in the chat box or the Q&A as we move forward here. So if I'm thinking about, yep, great. So I've got some good chat responses coming in here. If we're thinking about where the teaching and learning happens in the digital environment, many of you have already mentioned Moodle, Canvas, the LMS, that kind of thing, and that's great. That's where that interaction happens. So if I'm a student who's taking courses at a particular university and I need to see my syllabus, or I need to do an assignment, or I need to talk with my professor in an online space, the place I do that in is the learning management system. For this reason, the libraries have constantly been trying to find a way to have more of a presence in these spaces. For example, in the past, I think, at St. Ed's, we were able to get a link to the library in each course. It was what I call, a quote, dumb link in our Blackboard instance, because actually, I'm hoping everybody can still hear me. I've got a chat that says audio has been disconnected. So I'll let our host, Rachel, if she can still hear me, and let me know. Hopefully my audio is coming through. Okay, great. So it looks like audio is still there. That's good.
Yep, so, hear you loud and clear.
Great, perfect. So, we've tried for ages to get a presence in these online classroom spaces. At St. Ed's, that took the form of a link to the library's homepage in each Blackboard class. And while that was considered a coup at St. Ed's, because, we didn't have the best relationship with our Blackboard administrators on campus, it still wasn't exactly what we were looking for. I mean, faculty members could just as easily type in library.stedwards.edu up in that address bar. So it wasn't really deep integration into that teaching and learning space. What we wanted to do was do something a little bit more, and that's the project that I got to end up working on here at EBSCO. The problem we really were facing had to do with a specific scenario where we had a faculty member want to use something out of the library's collection in their Blackboard course. Now, I want you to think about how that might work on your campus, whether you have Blackboard or Canvas or some other learning management system out there. Think about the steps an instructor would have to take in order to assign a reading to their students out of the library's collection. All right, so for example, here on the screen you'll see a search box here. How would a faculty member go from here, where they're staring at your library search box, to here, where they've got an article that they found on your library's resources and put it into Moodle or Blackboard or whatever it is? What steps would they have to take? Again, feel free to punch that in the chat box for how you might imagine that happen. But I'm going to run down what had to happen at St. Edwards. So, for example, if I'm a St. Ed's faculty member and I see this and I type something into the search box and I get back results, and I find the article that I actually want to use in my class, I would end up doing one of two things. The first thing I might do is click on that article to see the detailed record, the abstract and all of that stuff. And if I liked it, I would go up to the address bar of my web browser, copy that URL, and then paste it into the online course page in Moodle. We've got a couple of people in the chat that are saying it's the same thing. They would copy the link into their course page. Anyone know any issues with that? Does that always work perfectly for your faculty members, going into your library resources and copying that URL and pasting it into their learning management system? Any problems with that scenario? Feel free to punch into chat. Great. So, yeah, we've got a couple of other people piping in here. Session info in the URL makes it not work. So if you've ever taken a look at some of those obscenely long URLs in the address bar for library resources, there's session-specific information in there. That means that link will work for that one user, that one time while they're in the library resource, but the moment that someone else tries to use that link, or perhaps the session expires in 15 minutes or 30 minutes or so, that link no longer works. So if you've had the same experience, I've been in a scenario where I've got a phone call from some of my liaison faculty members saying, I tried to use a library resource in my class, but it's overly complicated. That link just broke. So instead, I'm going to do something else. And that something else is what other people are describing in the chat box. They'll download that PDF document to their desktop and then upload it into the LMS. From a technical perspective, that actually works beautifully. I've never had a student have a problem opening up and reading their assignment for the week when a faculty member downloaded that PDF document and uploaded it into their LMS. Does anyone see any problem with that scenario, though? So let's say a faculty member downloads a PDF and pumps it up into the LMS. What's wrong with that scenario? Again, feel free to punch it into the chat. Okay, a lot of things about licensing not allowing it, copyright issues. So there are tons of questionable things, and I will be the first to admit that I'm not a copyright lawyer or expert myself, but there are questionable copyright issues out there when it comes to using licensed material in the context of a learning management system. If you make that copy of the PDF and upload it into learning management system, it appears fine, but there's actually a breach of many publisher licenses happening. One other thing that I don't think anyone in the chat system has pointed out so far, though, and this was pointed out to me by a great e-resources librarian at St. Louis University. She said that, you know, copyright, sure, that's a problem, but what really irked her was the fact that when the faculty member downloaded that PDF document, in their statistics module, that registered as one full text use. But behind the scenes, what was happening is there were 30 or 60 or 100 students using that article, and the library was not collecting any statistics because that PDF was kind of out in the wild now. So there are a couple of problems with using a PDF document in the context of a learning management system. Copyright is one for sure. You know, I suppose you could argue fair use. The one thing I have heard is that, you know, fair use will work for one semester, but when that item becomes part of the core of the course and you're using it semester after semester, that's when it becomes questionable. But that statistics is another real issue that happens here. So again, to summarize, when trying to use library materials out of in a course, instructors will often copy those links that expire or break or copyright issues, and not to mention the usage statistics are all being thrown out of whack. So the goals of Curriculum Builder and what this tool does is to make it easy to use library materials appropriately in online course spaces. So what this means is no more permalinking. You know, one way to get around that URL expiration is to teach faculty members how to use permalinks. But, you know, faculty members don't interact with library resources on a daily basis, so to remember that they need to get a persistent link is something that's out of their norm. So it's kind of understandable that they wouldn't remember to go and do that. So we want to eliminate the need to have to remember to grab a special link for library materials. We also want to help them avoid copyright issues. We also want to increase the visibility of library resources in the digital classroom. So if you've got you know, university administrators who are looking at this giant line item budget for the library, one thing that would really help is to have a more visible presence in that teaching and learning mission of the university. So we want to increase the visibility of the library in those spaces and get better statistics while we're at it, again, to help justify, you know, justify the value of the library. So I'm going to go into a live demonstration here, and this is where, I'm sure all of you have been instruction librarians at some point, but this is the part where you cross your fingers and hope nothing breaks. So we've got a current curriculum builder out there right now, and I'm going to actually do a demo in the system called Canvas. So let me move some stuff out of the way here. All of you should be seeing on your screen now, you know, a Firefox instance that says Canvas at the top left-hand corner of the screen. Can someone confirm that that's what's happening there before I kind of dive into this live demo? Should be seeing my mouse. Perfect. Great. Thank you guys for participating. This is Canvas. Canvas is a lot like Moodle or Blackboard or Desire to Learn in that it's a learning management system. This is where faculty come to post syllabi and, you know, kind of organize their courses online, and it's where students go to interact with their course materials. On the left-hand side, I'm going to click on Modules. I'm currently logged in as this course's instructor, so I'm logged in as a faculty member here. Normally, this is the point where if I'm ready to put in a library material into my class, I'd have to leave Canvas and go over to the library website and go through all of those issues that we discussed earlier. But instead, what I'm going to do is use this plus button right here in the Modules section. Clicking on that plus in Canvas gives me the option to add an assignment, maybe add a quiz for my students, or create a discussion board for my students to interact with me. But here what I'm going to choose is external tool. What it's doing now is it's loading all of the possible external tools that I could use. Curriculum Builder is this one right here. I've labeled it One Search Reading List to point out that you can brand this however you'd like. So if you have already branded your discovery service like One Search or Super Search, or my favorite is Sam Houston University's Engine Orange, you can brand this in the same way so it's recognizable that this is going to be a library-oriented tool. So I'm going to select that tool from the list. Your faculty members may already be using other types of external tools. This is not an uncommon thing for faculty members to do. Once I pick one search reading list here, I have the option to name my list. So here I might call this Week 1 Readings. So this is going to be a list of things that I want my students to read in that first week. And I'll click on Add Item here. Before I forget, because I know it will, I'm going to go ahead and publish this. That way, whenever we log in to look at it as a student, I can find it. But over here on the left, that makes a new link that says Week 1 Readings. And when I click on that Week 1 Readings, it's going to launch a new window. And because I am currently logged into this demonstration course as an instructor, I get a search box. Up at the top of the screen, you'll see that I'm working on EBSCO demonstration course, and I'm currently working on my Week 1 readings list. At this point, I can kind of search on whatever I'd like here. I'm just going to do maybe library information literacy, faculty, just going to smatter some words in there. I could also type in the title of an article I want to. That would work just as well to get articles here. Once I do a search, the thing that's happening here is I'm actually searching your EBSCO Discovery Service content. On the left-hand side, you'll see all the facets and limiters that you're kind of used to. So being able to see the content provider or the subject headings that appear in this results list are all over here on the left. So that kind of searching experience is available. The one big difference between using this tool as opposed to going to the library website, though, is this giant can't miss it add to reading list button. If I click on that, and then I'll scroll down and say that one looks good too, this one looks great. Basically, I can select different items from my from my library materials here, and those automatically get added to my my reading list. The things that I get in this results set are the full text items that come out of your discovery system. So they would get the same results if they had gone to the library's website, except now this is kind of embedded within their, their learning management system. At this point, I could be done. I could close the window. I could go grade some assignments. I could go have a margarita or something like that. But that's all that's needed to add these 3 items to my reading list. What happened in the background is we got the appropriate linking in place for these particular articles that I've selected. I did not make a copy of the PDF document at this point. All I'm doing is setting up that appropriate linking. There are more features to this tool, though, for faculty members. I'm going to click on See Current Reading List along the top. Here, as I go through the list, I can annotate things. So, for example, if this first one here I wanted to make optional, all right, and then I could bump it down to position 3 in the list. And this one I wanted to say read before class and update my notes. I can reorder these things, and then I've got a my annotations there. Got a couple of questions on, is this tool only available for EDS or does it work for other EBSCO host databases? Currently, this is only EBSCO Discovery Service. What it does in the background is it interacts with the EDS API. So right now it's developed to interact with that particular API. So that should answer that question. There are other things you can do here. So for example, if you wanted to link out to something, let's say I wanted to make a link to a library website or just any other URL that I want my students to read. So for example, something happens in the world and I want my students to interact with current news in addition to research articles on the topic. One thing I could do is link to maybe a CNN news story about a particular item. I can punch in the URL for that website. I can label that link and add it to my reading list. And what you'll notice is that CNN news story now appears in your reading list, and you can sort and annotate it just like you could something that was pulled in from the library website. If I scroll up to the top here, there are a few more features. One, I can choose to make this list private or public. By default, all lists are private, and what that means is only I can edit it as a faculty member, and only I can see it. But if I click to make that particular item public, what happens is other course instructors at my university will be able to see the items I put on this list. That works pretty well when you have other faculty members wanting to copy your work. In particular, if you've got a large lecture style course and there are multiple different discussion sections for that course, you know, one TA could be in charge of putting together the reading list, and all the other TAs could simply borrow from that one. What they would do is they would use the import from existing list feature that I'm kind of hovering around on the screen. When I click on that, I will see all of the lists that I have created up until this point, including the ones that are currently marked private. So this will remember me and what lists I have made as a faculty member. But I'll also be able to see public reading lists that I did not create, but the instructors who did make them made them public. When I view this list here, I will be able to see the different readings that are on there, as well as the annotations that are there. I could choose to copy them all in or only some of them. And if I'm feeling particularly smarter than the faculty member that made this list, I could choose to discard their notes in the import process. When I click on import those readings, those particular items on Othello now come into my reading list, and as you can see, I got rid of the notes that that other instructor had put in there. So there are options to reuse lists that you've made in the past. A couple of sites that have already implemented this tool used to have a service where the librarian would actually put together the permalinks into a Word document for the items that the faculty member wanted and send it over to the faculty member. What they do now instead is they curate a reading list and say to the faculty member, all right, your reading list is up and ready, just copy it into your own course and you're good to go. So this also kind of fits with a few different kind of service models as well. There's a beta feature here that's moving out of beta fairly soon, the ability to import from an EBSCO host folder. So if you've gone into EDS and you've tossed a bunch of things into a My EBSCO host folder, the same way that you would export to a bibliographic management tool like RefWorks or EndNote is the same thing you would do to export it for a reading list. So if you've gone and tossed a bunch of things into the folder, you can actually generate a list using that particular folder item. I'd like to show you what the tool looks like for a student now. So I'm going to go to settings over here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to switch my role to student. So now I'm going into student view. On the left-hand side, if I click on modules, I will see that my faculty member, as long as my internet cooperates with me, here we go. I see my faculty member has added a link that says week 1 readings here. And whenever I click on that list, instead of getting a search box for searching the library's materials, I just get a list of things that I need to read. So for example, here's that thing that I said to read before class. Here's that thing at the bottom that's optional. There are those things that I imported about Othello. There's my CNN news story. If I click on one of these to do the actual reading, when I click on it, you'll notice that I get a detailed record for this particular item, so I can, read the abstract and see what the article is about. And then there will be a link to full text on the left-hand side. Whenever I click on that full text link, you'll notice that I get the full text right here in my window, and I did not have to log in again. So what happens here is for those EBSCO host PDF documents. So if you've ever been in EDS, you'll notice we have a bunch of different kinds of links. We have custom links that go off to a JSTOR or a ProQuest or a ScienceDirect or something like that. But we also have those PDF links whenever you subscribe to that particular journal's full text through EBSCO. In that scenario where you're getting the full text through us, we don't even require an extra login to the library in order to present them with full text. I'll also point out that every click of the PDF full text link or the custom links over there will register as a full text use in your EBSCO admin statistics module. So that will be recording every single student that comes in here to do their reading. You're going to get that full text usage stat out of it. Okay, so I'm going to back out of this. I'm going to go back to my reading list here. That's all students can do. Students can't do anything else in Curriculum Builder, but mostly that's a good thing. What they're trying to do is get their reading done for class so they can get their assignments done. And the faculty member is trying to make sure that they're interacting with the right academic material in order to achieve the learning goals that they're trying to achieve with their classes. So the goal is to make it as simple and easy for students to use and not introduce a ton of features that they won't necessarily need anyways. The question, let's see, I'm going to take a quick look at the chat box. So this is correct. So we've got a question on who creates these lists. A curriculum development team. So for example, if you've got a bunch of instructional designers or librarians that want to make lists, they can put together lists and either A, let the faculty member know, hey, your list is done, go to import from existing list and pull it in, or B, if you do have access to that class, you can just go into the class and create it yourself. The advantage of the first scenario is, well, at St. Ed's, we had difficulty getting into Blackboard courses, mostly because the teachers themselves, the faculty members themselves, could not add us as teaching assistants. They had to ask our campus IT to allow them to do that. So there's kind of a big effort to get a librarian into a Blackboard course. What this tool would allow you to do in that scenario is, as long as you had access to a dummy class in Blackboard somewhere, you could use this tool to make lists, turn them public, and then just let the faculty member know that they can copy it in whenever they're ready. Alternatively, if you do have access as a TA to the course, you can create the list right there in the class itself. For those articles not coming through EBSCO, so another question here. I mentioned for those PDF documents that come out of EBSCO, it's no authentication. For the other things that kick out to a JSTOR platform or ProQuest or something else like that, it will likely go through whatever proxy server or authentication you've got set up for those things. So you might imagine me clicking back. Let me launch that reading list again here. I'm going to imagine that this particular article here, let's imagine that this was not an EBSCO PDF document, and instead this item was available through JSTOR. You'd likely see the JSTOR logo here, as well as something that says full text available through JSTOR. And if any of you are familiar with how custom links work in EDS, those are the links that you would see here on the left. When a student clicked on it, they would pass through your proxy server before getting over to the full text. So in many cases, that would mean they would have to log in once before getting to the full text, but subsequent clicks would not require that additional login. If your campus is already set up with single sign-on, then chances are the same authentication tool they use to get into Blackboard is the same authentication tool that would be used to get them into JSTOR. So there's also a likelihood that they wouldn't even have to log in for those if your campus uses the same thing that your library uses to authenticate people. All right. So I'm going to close this down. One of the big questions I get about Curriculum Builder is how difficult is it to get going? The hard thing about trying to do anything in these learning management systems is the library frequently are not the people in charge of it. So it becomes a question of how well do you get along with your IT unit on campus? Do you go out for beers in the evening, or is it a love-hate relationship with those guys? The good news about Curriculum Builder is that it's speaking IT language. So I'm about to drop an acronym, the LTI protocol. I say that knowing that most of you on the WebEx may have never heard of the LTI protocol before, and that's because it's an acronym more commonly used with learning management systems. So for example, we know exactly what MARC is whenever you say that in a room full of librarians. If you were to say LTI in front of a room full of learning management system administrators, it's a high likelihood they'll know exactly what you're talking about and exactly what it's going to take to get it up and running in their learning management system. So I do want to show you exactly what your LMS administrator would do. I'm going to switch here to leave student view and get back to my faculty view. Let me close this down. I'm going to go over to settings, and I'm going to go to apps and view app configurations here. And I'm going to click on edit. What will happen if you were to sign up for Curriculum Builder is we would give you a welcome letter that has details in it that your LMS administrator is going to need to know. So for example, again, this is called an external tool. The name that they plug in here will be what the faculty members will see. So here is where you see OneSearch reading list. This is where I could name it, Super Search reading lists if I wanted to. This is the name that of the tool. We will provide you with a consumer key and a secret. We will provide you with what the launch URL is, as well as domain. We will tell you what needs to get set for privacy. We'll give you something to copy and paste into the custom fields. I will point out that here in the custom fields, this is also where you're going to set what logo you want at the top left-hand corner of Curriculum Builder, what link you want displayed at the bottom of the screen, and whose email address you want posted in the tool. So if a faculty member needs some help, who do they contact about that? And generally this is, whoever your faculty librarian is on campus. The rest of the details we provide for you in these custom fields. What happens at that point, once your LMS administrator fills out this form and hits submit, that's it. That is the sum total of work that your LMS administrator will need to do to launch Curriculum Builder on your campus. Because we provide all the details here, it does amount to maybe about 2 to 3 minutes worth of work. However, I do understand that the politics of the campus may require a bit more. I do want to note that we can offer trials of Curriculum Builder now, so if your IT unit is feeling a little uncomfortable about adding anything to their product, the learning management system, you could get a trial of it and have them set it up to see how well it works before pulling the trigger on it. Let me go ahead and close this down. Okay, so I'm going to pop into a different setup now. That's essentially the demo of what you have available to you today. So if you were to go, we want Curriculum Builder and we want it now, one that would make me extremely happy. This is my baby. It's what I wanted to make, and I'm hoping a lot of people will see that will want to use it because I'm hopeful it's going to improve the experience of faculty members using library materials. But I do want to point out that this is getting some new features coming towards the end of the semester, and I'm pretty pumped about it. I did a lot of work on Curriculum Builder over the holiday break, and I want to show you what you can expect to see come probably the beginning of summer 2015. This is Moodle. So what you're looking at on the screen now looks very different from Canvas, but it's the same kind of system. Here I'm going to turn editing on over on the right-hand side. You'll notice that at the top I'm currently logged in as a course instructor. The main difference between Moodle and Canvas is instead of going to the modules on the left to create a new reading list, here in Moodle, all of that stuff is just down the middle of the screen. There are links that say add an activity or resource here. And when I click on that, you'll notice something very familiar. We've got assignments, discussion forums, chat systems, lessons. So the same, I don't know if you recall in Canvas, but I clicked on that little plus and it gave me the option to create a new assignment or something like that. This is the equivalent here in Moodle. And you'll notice, again, that same term, external tool, is available here. And I'll hit add. Here I can name my reading list. So week 1 reading list. And here I'm going to pick the do not use one, simply because I'm the developer and I can do what I want at this point. I'm going to pick the Curriculum Builder from this drop-down menu. Again, this could be labeled whatever your campus wants to brand this thing. This one of the new features is the ability to embed it right within the class. In Canvas, you'll notice that a window popped up, and that's how faculty members interacted with Curriculum Builder. The new Curriculum Builder, again, coming towards the end of the semester, will have the ability to be embedded right within the course kind of frame. And let me show you the difference here. So when I click on week 1 reading list, you'll notice that the reading list tool is going to load right here within the frame of Moodle. So now it's not a new window, but it feels very, very much like a part of their learning management system. I'll go ahead and do some searching here, like let's do Climate change, Greenland. That sounds good. I'll do a search. I'll get my results. Again, here, the same kind of functionality. I can add things to the reading list, but there are a couple of features that are new here too. I'm going to go to See Current Reading List to show them to you. The biggest thing that we've had requested of faculty members, so faculty members will give us feedback of the tool. So far, the biggest thing that we've had requested is the ability to see which students have read the readings. In the initial version of Curriculum Builder, we decided not to collect any information about student reading behavior, mostly because, in the back of my mind, there's a huge ethical, pillar that we need to respect in terms of reader privacy. As we got more and more requests from faculty members, we started thinking about this a little bit more. What we're actually collecting here with the reading list tool has nothing to do with the student researches independently and on their own. Effectively, what we can record is that, yeah, the student completed their assignment for this faculty member. We also found out that most of the other tools that faculty members use in Blackboard or these other LMSs do record this information. So whenever we introduced this to the faculty members, they were saying, it's great. It's not as good as the other tools I have available to me because they let me know how my students are behaving in my class. They let me intervene whenever, they give me enough data to know that this student is struggling, and I can tell they're struggling because they haven't been doing the work. So this allows you to collect that kind of student data here in the reading list. This is an option. You can leave it off if it's something that you feel does violate user privacy. However, after having conversations with librarians like yourself, as I've gone around and shown this tool, what we've come to realize is that we're still not collecting exactly what it is that a student would research on their own. We're just checking off that they indeed did click on the link that the faculty member posted for them. So take that for what it's worth. You can turn that on or off. Another feature is the ability to add text or instructions. So for example, a faculty member wanted to post, read chapter 5 in your textbook before class, in addition to the library materials that they had. And that wasn't possible before. All you could do was add a web link. You couldn't add just an instruction like read your textbook. So now I could do something like read chapter 5 and 6 by Tuesday. I can add that to my reading list. And now that goes in here. I can also add some subnotes here. So we've got a question here about the statistics. Does it show whether students have clicked on the full text or only that they've accessed the list? Both. I'm actually going to go into a different course to give you a little bit more detail on that. So pardon the messiness of this particular one, but I'm going to go down to a reading list that I've already made. Course readings, see current reading list. So one thing that I will be able to show you here is up at the top, I see that one student has accessed the list, and if I expand it, I get their name. I'll also be able to scroll down, and for each individual reading, I will see that one student did go into this reading, but no students went into this particular reading. So you get it both ways. You get how many access the list and how many have gone into the detailed record. That's probably as good as clicking on the full text of a particular item. I will never be able to tell you if they actually read the thing or not once they get it onto their desktop. But I can tell you which students have gone in and clicked on that link there. Okay, so I'm going to go up here a little bit further. I've consolidated a bit of things so it seems a little bit cleaner. There's also, a new simple link like return to course up here, and then there's a copyright notice here as well. So if your library is interested in putting some copyright information, here at the bottom, you can insert some kind of, the fine print if you'd like. And this is a completely configurable area. Probably one of the coolest features of this, and let me show you what this will do. I'm nervous about this one because I literally finished writing this feature 2 days ago, and I haven't really tested it much yet, so apologies if this doesn't work, but it'll give you the idea of what I'd like to do. Another piece of feedback we got from librarians is, that export from folder thing is cool, but what they'd really like to be able to do is, oh, here's an article, I want that in a reading list. and they're on your library's website. So here I'm going to take this first article here on global warming. On the left-hand side, we can create a custom link that says Add to Curriculum Builder. And when I click on that, you'll notice up at the top, I'm working in my course Dinosaur Ethnography on the list called Course Readings. Basically, it's going to check, have they launched a reading list yet? And if the answer is yes, then they'll be able to add an item to the reading list. It'll confirm that they added the item to the reading list, and it'll take them back to EDS. If a student tries to click on this link, or somebody tries to click on this link without launching Curriculum Builder, it will show them the detailed record, but it will give them no options to actually add it to a reading list or edit the reading list. There is zero chance of a student being able to come in and edit a reading list here. We've got another question from from one of my favorite librarians out there, and I won't embarrass her by saying her name, but she says, what will it take to get the new features once they're released? So let's say you subscribe to Curriculum Builder today, and then we release these new features at the end of the semester. They're just going to happen for you, all right? As long as you're using our hosted version, and I'll get into more details there about that piece in just a minute or two. We're almost kind of done with the demo piece of it. You'll just start seeing all of these new features in Curriculum Builder without needing to take any action. So hopefully that answers that question. I do want to show you the new admin piece here. So let me go into the administrative screen. Here, I mentioned, actually this is one thing to mention too. The setup for LMS administrators, I've already shown you. It takes maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes to get it up and running in an LMS system. It's now going to take 2 to 4 minutes because we've reduced the amount of things that they need to copy and paste into that box. Now you will actually be able, as a librarian, be able to control things like the logo and the branding from your new administration panel. And again, what you're about to see is not yet available in Curriculum Builder until the end of the semester. Here I would log in with my consumer key and secret. Again, that was part of that welcome letter that we would send to you and you would forward on to your LMS administrator. Here's where you set up what your logo is, what email address you want at the bottom of the screen, what link you want to take the library to, what text that you want to display along the top of the screen. You can also change the view and EDS label. So on that detailed record, there was a full text option. There was also an option to see it in EDS. You can change that label here. If you've got someone on your campus who's CSS adept, so they are very good at making websites look great, and you don't like the way Curriculum Builder looks, you can upload, you can paste a link to your own style sheet. So you can change the way Curriculum Builder looks and feels for your campus entirely if changing the logo is not enough. This is where I mentioned that you have the option to collect student data, yes or no. So if I click on no, you will not see student statistics and we will not collect that detail. If you decide later to turn this to yes, we will not be able to go back and look at usage statistics that happened prior to you turning it on. When you have this set to no, we really do not collect any of those usage statistics. This is where you put in the data for the copyright notice in the bottom. This is a cool feature, I think, and it's hard to name yet. I'm showing you, let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm showing you something that may look vastly different by the time it actually launches, but I did want to show you the functionality. Prompt the user to copy a list if another list exists with the same name. One of the things that happens from semester to semester is that Campus IT will make a copy of existing classes and make new instance of them. So when the faculty member is ready to teach a new semester, they don't have to build everything from scratch. It's a copy of the prior one. What we were finding happening with the Curriculum Builder is that the links would be there, but you'd launch it and it would be an empty list. That's because our tool sees that link as a completely new reading list. So when this is selected to yes, what happens is if a faculty member is in a new version of their course and that reading list link is there, when they click on it, it will say, hey, it looks like you've got another list with the same name here. Do you want me to go ahead and start this list off? by populating it from your prior one, it makes it a little bit easier to use those import-export features. The ability to remove full text and available in library collection limiters. That's actually hard-coded into Curriculum Builder right now. Right now, the only thing Curriculum Builder will show your faculty members are things that are part of your library's collection. It will not show them anything that needs to be interlibrary loaned. However, with this particular release, I'm giving you the option to let them uncheck those checkboxes if you'd like, although I wouldn't recommend it. This is actually some work I'm putting in advance of yet another release that's down the pipeline that will help things like PDA purchases happen through this tool with your faculty members, although that will not be part of this next release. Finally, there's a show return to course link at the top of the page. So being able to provide a link for students to jump back into their course. There's also the ability to see what is on that list that the faculty member has. So if I click on Preview Selected List, I will see that the faculty member has which readings are on that particular reading list and the ability to delete them out of the system. The statistics that are available here will also show you which professors are actually using the tool. So I can see here that Professor Platypus is an avid user of the tool, and the admin user has created a few lists themselves. I'll be able to see the number of total lists that are in the reading list system, as well as how many total readings are on those lists and which courses are using those lists. So in addition to all of that full text and searching statistics that you'll get through EBSCO admin, you also get this subset of statistics that will help you evaluate Curriculum Builder specifically. The numbers here are a little bit off because, and actually this is a good thing to explain. If your campus is one of those that has multiple learning management systems, I'm working with a university that has, brace for it, 4 learning management systems. Faculty members will be able to see their list no matter what system they're in. So if they created something in Moodle and then they're logging into Blackboard because that's where their other course is, they'll actually be able to copy their own lists from one to the other in there. So if you're on a campus that operates with multiple learning management systems, this could be a good tool for that. Okay. I'm going to jump back into the PowerPoint here. All right. All right, 1 second here. There we go. So the next big question is how to get it. How does this work? I did get a question on will this work with Encore EDS? Absolutely. We actually use the same thing for this tool as Encore uses to tap into EDS materials, the EDS API. The big difference is if you go with one of our options to pipe EDS content into one of our ILS partnerships like Encore, your catalog records will not be a part of Curriculum Builder. So that's the only difference, but all of your database content will be. Let's see, so how to get it? There are 2 ways to get this tool. There's a self-hosted way. The code for this tool, so if you want to actually see the code that I've been working on, it's posted to the EBS wiki. It does require someone who can and will manage a PHP MySQL application. The requirements for what server, what kind of server is needed and what kind of configuration is needed is on that EDS wiki, and this does not cost you anything. You just log into the wiki, you download the code, and you have someone install and run it. The big caveat that I want to make sure everyone on this WebEx knows is we can provide little to no technical support with this code. You really do need someone who is comfortable troubleshooting and editing PHP and MySQL code, all right? The reason I say this is all of our frontline support at EBSCO is very, very good at answering your questions about custom links, about EBSCO admin, about EDS. But when it comes to asking, all of our frontline support to learn programming languages and server configurations, that's a bit more than our front team can handle. What this means is you are talking to the one individual who could potentially support you with the PHP MySQL application. And there are simply too many people using Curriculum Builder for us to be able to provide the kind of support that you may need for this PHP MySQL application. Now that I've thoroughly scared you, it is perfect for libraries who are already doing this kind of thing. So if you know there's already someone at your library who's, yeah, about PHP MySQL application, I know exactly how those work, and yeah, we have the server for it. You know, LSU is a prime example of a campus that is up and running on their own. What's good about that scenario is that individual who knows that kind of programming language can actually edit the things to their heart's desire, add new functionality, and go crazy with it. The one drawback there is even if you do have someone who can do this and server space to host it, is when I push all of my updates at the end of spring semester, whoever manages that is if they want that update too, they're going to have to figure out how to edit their code to mesh with what we are posting up on the EDS wiki for this new release. So it becomes difficult when you host it yourself. But that said, it is, again, perfect for libraries who already do this kind of thing. I will be posting the new code for the new features right when it releases for our customers as well. The way that most of our customers have gone, though, is to use EBSCO's cloud version of it, or hosted version of it. Essentially what happens is kind of what I described earlier. We give you a welcome letter that has all the information your LMS administrator needs. We'll also provide you that kind of uptime guarantee, HTTPS support, which is actually new. If any of you on the WebEx have Curriculum Builder already and are annoyed with any kind of security warnings that pop up when you're using the tool, that has been resolved. And feel free to get in touch about HTTPS support for Curriculum Builder, as well as a backup of reading lists and full technical support for the tool. Not to mention the updates that'll push will just kind of happen for you on your campus. This is important, that uptime piece. We operate Curriculum Builder on a number of different servers. That means if a disaster strikes in any particular one of the locations in the world where we have one of these servers, it's backed up and it's still up and running. On the other hand, if you're running it locally on your own campus server, if that thing goes down, you know, your systems librarian is the one that's going to have to panic as they kind of get that thing back up and running. Again, it's probably not a big deal if your campus already does that, but just speaking as a systems librarian myself, and actually from an IT perspective, the hosted version is generally the way that campuses are going. Even IT departments will tell you the cloud is the way to go. If you take a look at trends in campus IT departments, more and more services are being you know, implemented in the cloud as opposed to locally. I got a question on, is the hosted version available for Blackboard? Yes, it is. The main LMSs that this works with is Blackboard, Canvas, Desire to Learn, Sakai, Moodle, Web Study. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on and on. The LTI protocol that I mentioned earlier is a standard. Now, that said, think about how all the libraries in the world implement MARC, and that's a standard. It's kind of the same thing with LMS tools. They all implement it slightly differently. But we are, and actually the new release of Curriculum Builder will greatly help out with those smaller LMSs. But the LTI is something that almost every single LMS out there works with. We have only run into one small LMS that did not work with it, and it was a K-12 oriented LMS that had maybe, I want to say, you know, 20 school districts worldwide. So chances are your LMS will work with this. If you are interested in the hosted version, the best person to talk to is your EBSCO regional sales representative, so whoever comes by and then talks with you about Curriculum Builder. But you can also send an email, if you don't know who that is, to eds@ebscohost.com asking about Curriculum Builder. That's essentially what I have for you. So I do want to leave the rest of, I think I've left you with a very generous 8 minutes, I guess, of Q&A time. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, feel free. Now, I'm going to kind of start going through the Q&A that's here. Let's see. Are ebooks included? Yes, ebooks are included in this. So whether they happen to be, you know, ebooks that come in via your catalog records, so for example, eBrary or EBL or ABC Clio titles or something like that, if you've got them loaded into EDS via your catalog, they will conversely appear in Curriculum Builder 2, as well as EBSCO host ebooks obviously will be there as well. Can the student side button go directly to full text? You know, that's something I could build in. So rather than, let me make sure I've got this. It's a question from Deborah. Let me make sure I'm answering the right one. The question was, can the student side button go directly to full text? So rather than jumping into a detailed record and then jumping out to full text, I'm assuming you're asking, can it go directly to full text when they click on the title? You know, that's an option I could probably build in before I send this off to my my QA quality assurance team. Maybe. Let's see if your questions is probably the new feature in Curriculum Builder for this summer. If the student is off campus, again, the EBSCO PDF documents will pipe them right through to full text. What we do is we assume, well, they got into the course, they are legitimate users of this campus's resources, so we'll get them into that full text. They'll hit that proxy server if not. Let's see, I think I answered some of these other questions already. Let's see, is the copyright issue resolved because they are clicking on the link themselves? It's resolved because we are linking to your licensed version of it. No one who is, so in that PDF instance, I'll go back to that kind of original scenario where a faculty member has a PDF document on their desktop and they upload it into Blackboard. That can quickly become a copyright quagmire, mostly because what if your library stops subscribing to that item? They've got this PDF document that they have no rights to floating around in this learning management system. What happens in Curriculum Builder is if your library decides to stop subscribing to something that happens to be a part of a reading list, is when a student clicks on it or a faculty member is setting up their reading list, it will prompt them saying, hey, look, this item is no longer available through your library. Please contact your librarian for assistance. So in that sense, we're getting around the copyright issues of students accessing materials that are not currently licensed to them. Link source documents go through the proxy. Yep. Can syllabi be created from the reading lists? Ooh, that's a good question. So the way I'm imagining that is you build your reading list and then it generates something that goes into a course syllabus. No, there's nothing like that now, but if you get a chance to kind of maybe further detail what you envision happening with syllabus and the reading list, please feel free to punch it in because I'd be happy to kind of look into that. Let's see, okay. Can you upload PDFs or other documents into CB? So a book chapter you have locally. Currently, no, and I don't plan on having that feature available for this next semester. Mostly because the tool itself is relatively lightweight. We don't have server space to store those PDF documents, plus we're kind of getting into that murky area of copyright again, although, you know, personal book chapters or something else. However, you can post a web link. So for example, if the faculty member put up a PDF on some website somewhere, or maybe it's an electronic reserve system or something like that, you could just link over to it. But there is no file storage associated with Curriculum Builder at the moment, although that's a feature we will be considering for future releases. Ballpark cost per hosted. I don't know. I'm not the guy who actually goes out and sells this thing. I'm a developer for it. However, I do know that it is a fraction of the cost of EDS. So you're not looking at another EDS type of expense for your library. But definitely get in touch with your local sales rep about that. Let's see. The question is, do the options in EDS preferences about remove full text option being hard-coded as automatically off? Yeah, sure. So right now in Curriculum Builder, there are limiters in EDS, full text and available in library collection. What I've done for Curriculum Builder is hard-coded those to yes. That way, anytime a faculty member uses Curriculum Builder today, they are only looking at items that are noted as part of your collection. You have no ability to change that. So if you did want to give your faculty an option to be able to see things that they would have to interlibrary loan through Curriculum Builder, you can't do that right now. So the new feature, again, I'm not sure it'll be used that much, but it's there kind of setting us up for some future features is now you will have the option. You can show that full text limiter on the left, and you can uncheck it as a faculty member now. Let's see. The same statistics. So the question is, what statistics are available in the current version? Actually, the exact same statistics are there. You know, which courses are using it, which instructors are using it, how many total lists there are, and how many total readings are there. That kind of information is there currently. It's a little bit harder to log into the system at the moment. You actually have to use your EBSCO user ID, EBSCO password, and a profile, so it's a little bit more cumbersome to log in to the current administrative panel, but you can. And those are all the, okay, and I've got some more questions coming in through the chat. So let's see. Are there any libraries using Curriculum Builder as their only e-reserve system? Not at the moment, but I have seen, oh, who's doing it? Lee College, I think. Lee College, again, they're one of the ones that are rolling their own as well. They've downloaded the source code and they've got it up and going. What they do is when they have an item for course reserve that come in, they actually catalog those things and they send their catalog into EDS. So as a result, those items are appearing in Curriculum Builder. So it's kind of a cascade there that, you know, if you send us your e-reserves as a part of your catalog upload, those items are now in Curriculum Builder. So they are using it as the way that the faculty members use e-reserves. I'm not sure if it's the only thing they're using, but it is something that they have done to kind of tie in those things that they put together for faculty into Curriculum Builder. Let's see. Is there a way to, a notice can be sent to the creator of a list that something is no longer available? You know, that's something I'm likely going to include, not in this next release, but one in the future. That's going to take a bit more thinking on how to get that to happen. But as of right now, no, it does not proactively send a notice saying, hey, this item, we're no longer subscribing to it. Really, in the back of my head, the hope is this generates use for those things that are and you'll get better statistics for those things that are critical to that teaching and learning experience. So hopefully it will help you guys make better decisions on collection development too, if you have a much more accurate set of statistics that reflect what's happening in the classrooms on your campus. How long does a trial last? I'm sure I don't know. I'm pretty sure it would be fine. Have it last until your next renewal with EDS or something like that. I don't know. I'm kind of talking out, my backside at this point. Those are questions for your regional sales rep. If you start out self-hosted, can you switch to EBSCO later if need be? That is something I do want to include in a future release, but it is not there now. And I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to be able to get that in there. Once you do the self-hosted thing. In fact, if you're kind of sort of savvy with PHP and MySQL stuff, but you're not sure if you want to go whole hog and host it yourself, I would encourage you to download the code and in particular take a look at how the MySQL tables are structured. That'll give you an idea of what we're working with on the back end. So that the more and more features I start adding to Curriculum Builder, the less and less likely it's going to be that I'm going to be able to transition seamlessly from one to the other. But it's not something I'm ruling out just yet. Okay, that kind of gets all the questions I've had so far. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. My email address is on the screen, efrierson@ebsco.com. I'd be happy to do a demo for you as well if you want to get your IT staffs involved. But yeah, have a wonderful day. I apologize for going 3 minutes over, but hopefully you haven't inconvenienced you that much. Again, thanks a bunch, you guys. If you're going to be at ALA, I will be there too. Stop by the booth and ask for me. Talk to you later.